Imagine Horror Network, the official horror stories channel.
A couple named John and Mary had been married for only a year, but already their relationship felt strained. John was having a tough time at work and Mary just didn't seem to understand. She wanted to go out more, but he wanted to stay in. The two of them were constantly at odds, and it was taking a toll on their marriage. One night, John had come home from a long day of work, feeling more exhausted than ever before. As soon as he entered the house, he heard a loud crash coming from the kitchen. He rushed into the kitchen to find Mary standing there. She had just dropped a large knife on the floor and was standing there with a wild and desperate look in her eyes. John looked at her, confused and afraid. "What's wrong? What happened?" he asked her. Mary just shook her head and said, "Nothing. Everything is fine." But her voice trembled as she said it, and John could tell that something was wrong. He slowly stepped closer to her, and that was when he noticed the bloody smears all over her hands and clothes. Cautiously, he asked her what had happened, but Mary remained silent. Suddenly, John felt a chill run down his spine as he realized what must have occurred. He slowly backed away from Mary, his hands shaking as he dialed the police. When they arrived at the house, they questioned Mary for hours, but she refused to tell them anything. Finally, the detectives brought John in for questioning. After a long and grueling interrogation, he finally cracked and admitted to what had happened. John had come home to find Mary in the kitchen, covered in her own blood. There was a dead body lying on the floor with multiple stab wounds in its back. John had been so stricken with fear and shock that he couldn't think straight. He had grabbed the knife that Mary had dropped and used it to finish off the victim before fleeing the scene in terror. The police arrested John on the spot, and the next day he was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. As the years passed, John slowly became the stuff of nightmares in the prison, a prisoner known only as the Butcher of Beacon Hill. And Mary? After pleading insanity, she was sent away to a psychiatric hospital, never to be heard from again. It's rumored that even the doctors grew uncomfortable around her after a few years, claiming that her eyes held a look of pure evil. When John died in prison, he took his horrific secret to his grave. To this day, no one knows why Mary killed that man. Some say it was a jealous rage, others say it was for money, but the truth may never be known. All that we do know is that a dark and gruesome murder occurred in that kitchen on a fateful night, setting into motion a series of events that still haunt us to this day.